Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's school board action meeting. I think we're going to start off with a video this evening, right?
Hello, and welcome to this North Penn News Update. Although the school year is not in session, our buildings are still abuzz with activities. During the summer, numerous camps have been held throughout our district. Whether a sports camp, a reading camp, the annual LEGO robotics camp, or an extended school year learning session, these unique opportunities gave our students a chance to keep their minds engaged and their bodies active in the summer months. As the days inch closer to the beginning of the school year, our facilities team is hard at work preparing our 18 buildings for the return of our students and staff in late August. In addition, Oak Park and Gwen Noor Elementary schools are both undergoing air conditioning installation and renovation for the beginning of the school year. 4 members of the North Penn High School Future Business Leaders of America captured first place at the National FBLA Leadership Conference. Congratulations to Jared Huzar in advertising, Chris Seiler in coding, and the mobile application development team of Tejas Pritadarshi, Chris Seiler, and Nilay Vellinger for their outstanding performance. The North Penn Educational Foundation is looking for both golfers and sponsors to join them in Golfing for Education at this year's 17th Annual Golf Classic. Held on Monday, August 13th at Pinecrest Country Club, golfers can enjoy a festive day out on the course at the best run, best priced golf outing in the region, with outstanding food and great fun, all while supporting quality education in the North Penn School District. And mark your calendars for these very important upcoming dates. Schedules on Home Access Center will open for middle school students on Tuesday, August 14th, high school students on Wednesday, August 15th, and for elementary students on Thursday, August 16th. The first day of school for grades 1 through 12 is Wednesday, August 29th, with all kindergarten students attending orientation at their home school. More information will be sent to families closer to the start of the school year. That is all for this North Penn News Update. Check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/NPTV for all your programming and more 24/7. Have a great night.
Welcome to our regularly scheduled action meeting. This meeting is being videotaped for community cable channels. Individuals attending this meeting and intending to speak to the board should be aware that they are being videotaped. In order to meet the requirements of Pennsylvania's Sunshine Law, it is necessary to record the names of all citizens who speak to the board during the meeting. To assure compliance with this requirement, it is essential that those planning to address the board come to the microphone, state their name and address, and sign the Audience of Citizens logbook. Members of the audience are asked to limit their questions and comments. To allow time for all those who wish to speak to the board president may ask the individual to yield the microphone to the next speaker. And now, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to also announce that the board met tonight in executive session from 6:30 to 7:30 to discuss matters of personnel. And now we'll move on to recognitions and proclamations. Tonight we have the Future Business Leaders of America. Great. Ms. Westland is the administrator or teacher. Good evening.
Hi, I am Linda Westerland. I am the Department Chair for Business at the high school, and I'm also the advisor for the Future Business Leaders of America.
Good evening. My name's Ed Bovell. I'm a business teacher at the high school, and I assist Mrs. Westerland with FBLA.
North Penn had 58 students that qualified to compete at the state level this year. The students I have with me tonight are just a small number of those students who actually advanced. They placed in the top 10 in the state level, and then some of them actually went on to the national level to compete as well. Just a little bit about FBLA. It is a business organization. Students are given the opportunity to compete in various business-related events. First at the local level. If they place high enough, they they advance to regions. If they place high enough there, they advance to states. And again, depending on their score or their placement, they will go on to the national level. There is really something for everyone in FBLA. Students can do online tests, either individually or as a group. They can create projects that are judged. They can do presentations. There's things like job interview and emerging business issues. Some things they present alone, some things they present together. Some they're given a topic right then, they have to come up with it. Others they get to prepare. So there's really something that everybody could get involved in if they really wanted to. So the students that I have, we should have about 23 here that placed, but in the summer, several are, one's in China, there's a couple that are out of state, there's some at the shore. So I'm just going to read all the names if that's okay, and then the students that are here can walk around and be recognized. All right, first we have Jared Huzar, and he placed second in advertising at the state level, and he placed first in advertising at the national level. Keshav Patel is not here, but he did place first in the state in agribusiness. Reed Dentner and Ben Allmark, that was a team event. It was banking and financial systems, and they placed second in the state. They did qualify to compete at the national level, so they did go and compete there. Sharita Kunta, she placed third at the state level in business ethics, and she actually competed at the national level as well. We have the team of Nilay Vellinger, Tejas Paradarshi, and Chris Seiler. They placed second in the state in an event called Mobile Application Development. They actually created an app that worked. I was amazed with what they did. They did go on to the national level to compete, and they placed first in the nation. And just to brag a little bit about them, they had to produce their app or present it in front of a panel of 4 judges. And at the very end, one of the judges looked at them and said, "Now, are you planning on making this go live and you're really going to market this, right?" So they really did an excellent job. He was impressed. All right, next, Stephanie Zhang. She placed second in the state in global business and actually competed at nationals. Shravan Asthana and Rahul Jolkar was also in a team with her, global business. Divya Sood is here. She placed, go ahead. She placed 9th in the state in emerging business issues. So that was a presentation event for her. Karis Ma placed 3rd in the state in healthcare administration, and she did compete at the national level. Marie Medoff placed 7th in the state in impromptu speaking. Claire Dentner placed 5th in the state in insurance and risk management. Tony Zhu placed 9th in the state in Introduction to Business. Ben Curley placed 6th in the state in Cybersecurity. Sam Lee placed 7th in the state in Financial Math. Thomas Liu, Nick New, and Shaq Rahman were all in a marketing group, and they came in 6th in the state. Logan DeBille was elected president of the state of Pennsylvania for FBLA. And Jake Lobrack, he received an intern position through Cybus, who is the multimedia corporation that comes and does the whole program for us. So that was really a great opportunity for him. They only selected one. Since we're the only group here, I have a couple more little things I'm just going to throw in. We received several chapter awards as well. So the North Penn, we were 6th place in Outstanding Chapter for the state. We were 5th place with our local chapter annual business report. We are the 4th largest chapter in the state of Pennsylvania. We received 6th place with our community service project, and we were also 5th place for the amount of money that we raised for the state project, which was Alzheimer's this past year.
Great.
And that's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Westerline, would you mind walking through too? And we can
Okay.
all get a chance to congratulate you. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations again.
Congratulations.
Congratulations again. Again, congratulations. Congratulations again. Again, congratulations. Congratulations again.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Appreciate
Thank
all
you.
you do. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate all you do.
Can we have another round of applause for the students? Thank you. I'd just also like to announce that meeting will be rebroadcast if anybody wants to watch the proclamations again. It will be on Comcast Cable Channel 28 and Verizon Fios Channel 29 on the following dates: Friday, July 20th at 7:30 p.m., Monday, July 23rd at 12:30 and 7:30, Tuesday, July 24th at 12:30 and 7:30, and then again on Wednesday, July 25th at 12:30 p.m. Thank you. Okay. Moving on. We're now going to be having the audience of citizens, and I just want to, hold on, Mr. Patchell, I just want to show a new thing. For those who might be interested in speaking tonight, as you are aware, we have a 3-minute timer, right? So I was telling you, Mr. Sprocky, do you think you could put up, okay. So just so everybody's aware, there's a 3-minute time, and when it gets down to 30 seconds, it will start to flash yellow, and when your time is expired, it goes red. So if you are going to speak, if you could kindly keep an eye on the screen, we would appreciate it. Also, if you have something that goes longer than the 3 minutes, I know last time some people had written statements. I'm more than happy to take them and scan them in and email them to the rest of the board, or you can email us the information. And we also last time offered public comment again at the end of the meeting. So, and I also would like to say that after all the comments are made, the board and the administration reserves the right to maybe respond if there is some issue, pressing issue that, or issue that a lot of people are speaking to the same issue. We might have a comment to make after everybody has made their public comment. Okay? Okay, Mr. Patchell.
I've already
Just
signed
did
the.
you-
Excuse me.
I was going to wait till it turned 30 seconds, though, so you could see what it actually looks like.
horses at the track
All right,
also
you're
get
good?
nervous in the game.
You're good? Okay. All right. So everybody's aware.
Go. Okay. Hello. Good evening to the board. The composition is growing fantastically. I think you needed a larger gathering area, but that's okay. My name is William Patchell. I live at 404 Bonnie Lane. I've had 2 children go through the district and was very satisfied, but of course there's always room for improvement. Good evening. Since we're now limited to 180 seconds, I am forced to compress my thoughts into a few brief questions. Number 1, did any members of the board even think of something to mitigate the increases that were so important after the previous board tried to stay within the Act 1 boundaries? No. Any offsetting deletions in the expense category? I'd be really interested to see that. I know it's always easier to spend money than try to save money, but of course that's the norm today. Pennsylvania seems very challenged with this area that they're always having a difficult time with their with their budget. You don't care, do you? 5 people get to pick some of the members that never even ran before the electorate, but they voted for the new rate increases. Oh yes. I like to see when you exceed Act 1, this goes to the electorate, like a referendum, so that the total population that care to vote. I'm a little upset about the public responsibility of voting. It's very lax at best. But I like to see that. When you're talking about spending large amounts of money, I like to see the public all contributing, not 5 people. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. Okay. 3.4, put that on the ballot. Shame on you. The widow wanting and waiting to stay in her home. Of course, her husband passed away, and now you made it almost impossible for her to keep the house. What have you done for anybody like that? What have you done in a creative manner to supply the senior citizens, small businesses, even a small string? I'm not even asking for a rope. How about a string? Thank you for those members who voted against the increase. You were logical. You spoke with a thought-out plan, but obviously the new board, which is bright blue, decided that we have to go 3.4. I hope we don't wind up like Upper Dublin with almost a 50% increase. 50% increase in 10 years. That's not too good, is it? I'm sure the people in Upper Dublin are real unhappy. And I must remind you before I leave, the low-salt diet, state and local taxes, every one of you people, when you figure out your income tax and you spent all your money on North Penn School District, the taxes, oh, I can't deduct Pennsylvania, I can't deduct the city, I can't deduct Berkheimer, I can't, no, none of those things. You shot it all on the school. I would get a little bit more, have a little more due diligence with the money that you get and have offsiding expenditure cuts so that you could possibly stay within the parameters of Act 1. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Patchell. Is there anyone else that'd like to make public comment?
Hi, I'm Alexis Drolet, 28 Douglas Road in Lansdale. I'm a parent at Bridle Path Elementary. As we are moving into the 2018-19 school year, I'm here representing a large number of parents that feel strongly about reducing the upper elementary school class size. Over the past month, several parents, myself included, have spoken on this matter several times, and I'm here to keep the conversation going. If the district is committed to upholding their vision to be a, quote, school system that is student-centered with a focus on academics, we must realize the role that class size plays in achieving this vision. Currently, our school district guidelines of 25 to 29 students for grades 4 through 6 are not only out of date, but out of sync with our neighboring communities. For fourth grade, the average class size in Central Bucks is 23, Methacton, 22, Pennsbury, 24, Colonial, 23. Across the United States as a whole, the average class size for fourth grade is 23. These numbers are below even the bottom of our target range for class size in fourth grade in North Penn, which is an important transitional year where students are first exposed to departmentalized instruction. At Bridle Path Elementary School next year, unless a fourth teacher is added to the fourth grade, there will be 28 or more kids in each section. And I also know that Gwynn Nor is facing a very similar situation. The current classroom size guidelines that are in place have not been revised since the incorporation of classroom special education inclusion, which provides full instructional inclusion of students with a wide range of physical, emotional, and cognitive needs. We need to take into consideration the effect that this has on the total instructional time per student and revise these guidelines to reflect the new reality. In a classroom with so many IEPs and competing needs of students, everyone suffers when the classes are large: the special education students, the regular students, and the teachers. Moving forward, as we look to pursue full-day kindergarten and building renovations, I ask that in addition to developing a plan to address this issue long-term, that we also use the data from the building utilization study and ensure that each classroom is being used to provide for our students in the best way possible this school year, in addition to in the years to come. There are several sections of students across the district that currently rest on the bubble for enrollment that would greatly benefit from an additional classroom section being added based on their unique instructional needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Drolet. Is there anyone else that would like to make public comment? Okay, then we'll move on to the approval of the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes from the June 12th, 2018 work session meeting and the June 21st, 2018 action meeting as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Diazio, seconded by Mr. Casa. Do we have any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes for June 21st, 2018, the action agenda?
We took the vote.
Oh, we did them both? I'm sorry, I thought we did. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, not paying attention.
2 for 1.
Sorry. All right, my bad. Moving on then to committee reports. Safe Schools.
The Safe Schools Committee met on June 19th, 2018. The committee reviewed the responses for behavioral threat assessment consulting services. The committee recommended moving forward with Sigma Threat Management Associates. Mr. Kennedy gave an update on the Pennsylvania Safe Schools Targeted Grant. The July Safe Schools Committee meeting has been canceled. The next Safe Schools Committee meeting will be held here at the ESC Tuesday, August 28th, 2018 at 6 p.m. And a report.
Thank you, Mr. Casa. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Okay, moving on then to Finance. Mr. Diazio.
Thank you. There was no Finance Committee meeting in June. The meeting that was previously scheduled for July 30th has been canceled. The next regular meeting of the Finance Committee will take place on Monday, August 27th, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. In the ESC. And just to provide an update to the rest of the board, I believe the entire board obviously is aware of our new tax rebate program that we have here in the district, designed to provide some tax relief for some senior citizens in the district. We've gotten some input from some of our state legislators about some concerns that some seniors have about that program, and I've asked Mr. Scrocky to have a discussion with Todd Stevens' office where some of the concerns are coming from, and to provide an update to the board on kind of what we're hearing and different options that we may have to try to correct the program or to modify the program as we move forward. So Steve and I are going to be working on scheduling a special Finance Committee meeting in July. We'll solicit dates that the rest of the board is available, and that meeting will take place, the plan is for that meeting to take place at Neshaminy Falls, so that if we have some community input, there'll be an opportunity to do that. But there'll be more information on that in the coming week or so as Steve and I finalize a date and the report.
Thank you. Does that not have to go to, you have a motion and board approval for having a finance meeting somewhere else?
We usually don't.
We don't?
No.
When the date is actually set, that can simply be part of our advertisement at that point in time, location, date, time, location.
Okay, and our next regularly scheduled finance meeting is August 27th, right?
That's the one in August, correct. Right, the July 30th one is being canceled, so the next one after that is the 27th of August.
So should we not discuss this at a finance meeting on the 27th of August?
No, I want to schedule a special meeting in July, since the July meeting was canceled. The meeting for July is canceled today. I wanted to put it back on the calendar, but we've got a scheduling conflict with administration, so we need to pick a new date for our regular July meeting. So that's what we're going to do.
Should we cover this in other business and discuss as a board?
It's just a rescheduled date for the July meeting. That's all it is. There's no board action that's required. Steve and I need to come up with a new date for July's meeting.
I'll be honest, this is the first time I heard that we're going to Neshaminy Falls, which I have no problem with, but that's the first time it's been brought up. So I didn't know if other board members would want to talk about that in other business or not.
I would like to, only because if we schedule a meeting in July, there's only a couple weeks to kind of plan for that, and I would want to be able to be there and
Sure.
just vacation plans, that kind of things. So, I mean, just to kind of figure that out.
All right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we'll talk about the dates. I have to work again with Steve to get the dates. And I'll solicit everybody else's availability when we schedule it.
Okay.
Is there an issue with waiting until August, till the August meeting?
Yeah, because I think everybody kind of expected the July meetings to be canceled and
The
kinda
meeting in
plans.
July was never canceled. The meeting in June was canceled. We were waiting to find out from the business office whether there were items to cover in July. At the time, until about a week ago, there were no items for July. There's now an item that I want to discuss in July, so we'll schedule July's meeting. It can't take place on the 30th because of a scheduling conflict, but it's going to be rescheduled. So that's all on this topic. That's the end of my report. And again, there will be more to come on the rescheduling of that meeting.
Okay. Well, maybe, all right. Fine, let's go into personnel then. There was no personnel meeting in July, so there is no report for this evening. Support Services, Mr. Casa.
The Support Services Committee did not meet in June. The July Support Services meeting has been canceled. The next Support Services Committee meeting is scheduled for Monday, August 27th, 2018 at 6 p.m. here at the ESC. End of report.
Education, community, I'm sorry, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Casa? Are we all good? All right, moving on to education, community, and policy. Mr. Fusco is not here this evening, so I will just read the report. During July 2018, the ECP committee did not have a meeting. The next committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 28th at 6:30 p.m. North Monco Technical Career Center. Mr. Giazio?
We did not meet in June, or we did meet in June. I believe that there was an update at our June action meeting on a summary of that meeting. We are not meeting in July, and we'll meet again in August.
Thank you. Montgomery County Intermediate Unit, Mrs. Ramich.
The MCIU met on June 27th. The July meeting was canceled, and our next meeting will be August 22nd.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramich. North Penn Educational Foundation, Ms. Ott.
The Foundation Board of Trustees did not meet in July, so there's no new business to report. But I would like to remind everyone that the Foundation's 17th annual golf outing is being held on Monday, August 13th at Pinecrest Golf Course. We're still looking for both golfers and sponsors of this wildly popular event. So in addition, the Foundation continues to solicit donations for the North Penn Community Build-A-Bag Backpack and School Supply Drive. You'll find information about that and the golf outing on the district website. And our next meeting is going to be August 1st at 7:45 a.m. here in the ESC.
Thank you. Moving on to the Superintendent's Report, Dr. Teachout.
Thank you. I recommend approval to move the first reading of the amended Board Policy 5146 that deals with the administration of a medication to students as distributed to the next Board action meeting where they will have the second reading and be presented to the Board again for voting to enact the amended policies for district use.
Do I have a motion?
I have a question.
Okay.
So if the board was aware, it was brought to our attention about another over-the-counter medication today. It was with Lactaid, dealing with students' dietary needs and as a supplement. Just wanted some clarification. Does that even qualify as medication? I thought it was a very good question that the parent asked and how they expressed what the needs were for the student.
I think it's a little bit more of a complex issue in terms of looking at whether that medication is necessary for the student to meaningfully participate in their education. So we would need to look at that on an individual case basis. So the policy is really there as, broad to apply to everyone, but if there are exceptions or accommodations that need to be made, there are avenues via Section 504 plans or IEPs, so we would address any concerns through that avenue.
Thank you. Or am I to assume if a doctor writes a note that we don't have to have a 504 and IEP?
Correct.
Okay.
And just to clarify,
clarification.
Mr. Casa, I think your question, one of the questions was about a definition of medication. The proposed policy does include, it has a specific definition of what constitutes medicine.
Oh, understood. I just wasn't sure based on my limited knowledge of Lactaid definition.
Sure.
Be honest, just asking. Thank you very much. I appreciate the explanation.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Burkowski, seconded by Ms. Ott. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I recommend approval of the gifts to the district as listed for July 19th, 2018.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Giazio, seconded by Mrs. Ramich. Any comments or questions?
As always, thank you to everyone that make us to the district.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I recommend approval of the personnel items as attached.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Giazio, seconded by Mrs. Burkowski. Do we have any comments or questions?
Just a couple comments. This is, again, another exciting personnel report, but this time, Dr. McHugh, thank you. I know that the summer is always a busy time with hiring, but this has been, that has given a new meaning to busy. I know this month's personnel report has given a new meaning to busy in human resources. So to your entire team and to the entire administrative team that's been involved in the process, thank you. We have a lot of exciting appointments here this evening. We have Mr. Nicholson, our high school principal. I'm thrilled to see Pete taking over the high school. I see we have Mr. Muller in the background, who's going to be at NAP next year. So we have some really exciting hires here, and I'm thrilled to be part of this process and just want to thank everybody that was involved for all of the hard work. I know this is not an easy lift this summer. Thank you.
We also have Anne-Marie Lucas, our
Is she here?
Yes, right
recommended
there.
candidate for Director of Special Education. So thank you for being present. And Pete, Pete Nicholson, if you want to just give a quick wave, and then Stephen Muller in the back there, and then Anne-Marie Lucas right here in the front.
Welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Giasio.
Congratulations.
It is a team effort. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. McHugh. Okay, so do I have a motion? Oh, do we do it? Okay, any comments, questions? Good. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Recommend approval of the contracts for the district as listed for July 19th, 2018.
Do I have a motion?
So
Anybody?
moved.
Okay, motion by Mr. Diazio. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Ramich. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Recommend approval of the bid award for backbone fiber upgrade 2018 per the attached spreadsheet.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Prokowski, seconded by anyone?
Second.
Mr. Casa. Great. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I recommend the awarding of a contract to Sigma Threat Management Associates for behavioral threat assessment consulting services.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Sott, seconded by Mrs. Prokowski. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Recommend approval of the alternative placements for those that are listed. Copies are on file in the Office of Special Education.
Do I have a
So
motion?
moved.
Motion by Mrs. Prokowski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Diazio. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Recommend approval for student travel as listed.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Sott, seconded by Mr. McBean. Do I have any comments or questions? Is this, I do have a question. Is this something that we do every year?
No, thank you. The musical groups tend to rotate who takes a major trip each year, so it's roughly every 3 or 4 years that each group takes an out-of-state type of trip. This is the year that orchestra goes.
Great, okay, thank you. So, any other questions? No? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Recommend approval of the establishment of a general fund money market investment account with Huntington Valley Bank. The authorized signatories for establishing the account will be the board president, the board secretary, and the board treasurer.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Mrs. Prokowski, seconded by Mr. McBain. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Dietrich.
You're welcome.
Mr. Scrocky?
Thank you, Madam President. A couple quick updates before we get into the Treasurer's Report. First off, although the July 30th Finance Committee meeting has been canceled, we will have the Finance Committee reports posted next week, and those reports will be through the month of June. So it'll give us a good snapshot before we start our audit, how we fared for the 17-18 fiscal year. We mentioned earlier about the tax rebate program that started on July 1. I'm pleased to announce that we've received over 60 applications already, and our first batch of checks will go out next week. So that's a pretty good response considering we're only 19 days into the fiscal year. So that's an excellent response, and there's been a lot of interest on the program.
Mr. Scrocky, can I have a quick question?
Yes.
Are they coming from a certain area or like all over the district or?
I can't answer that. It seems like it's throughout the district. There doesn't seem to be any concentration by particular region. I might not be as familiar with developments as some others might be.
Okay, thank you.
Also, I mentioned about our audit. We do have our local audit scheduled for the week of September 17th. At that point in time, we'll have an idea of where we ended the fiscal year. We'll finalize those numbers, and we'll have a recommendation for the board's consideration for a transfer to the Capital Reserve Fund. I think I briefly mentioned that at our May Finance Committee meeting, but once we have our final numbers, that'll be something for consideration. But speaking about the 17-18 fiscal year, I do want to report that for the earned income tax and the transfer tax for the 17-18 fiscal year, we reached our highest levels ever in those taxes. So that's certainly a good sign of economic activity in the school district, certainly welcome. And for the earned income tax, one thing I've mentioned at Finance Committee meetings before about how the variances have been growing smaller and smaller over the years, that our budgeting becomes tighter and tighter. So I do want to mention that we did exceed our budget in earned income tax by roughly $700,000. So we were 104.7% of our budget of the earned income tax. But that is the lowest in the last 7 years that we've exceeded the budget by. So again, that emphasizes the point I've been making for several months, that our variance on our revenues and our expenditures continues to shrink year after year. And on investment income, this is something we've been quite proud about the last year, and our investment income will reach the highest level it's been in the past 10 years. So our investment income for the 17-18 fiscal year totaled about $1.6 million, and that's about $1.1 million higher than it was the entire year last year. So that's tremendous. We're actually earning right now 2.15% on our liquid funds, which is pretty good. Those funds are secured by a Federal Home Loan Bank letter of credit. That's pretty good considering the 10-year Treasury is about 2.84, so that spread really isn't that large between the two. The 6-month Treasury is about 2.16. That's about what we're earning for fully liquid funds, so we're pretty pleased. And one of the depositories that you just approved on the board agenda, Huntington Valley Bank, that again is in keeping with us negotiating with a number of local and regional banks to try to get the most competitive rate and return for the school district. On to the Treasurer's Report. This month, we actually had a $21 million gap between how much we spent and how much we brought in. So for the month of June, we brought in $13.4 million, but we spent $34.1 million. So that illustrates our cash flow, and typically in April, May, and June is the weakest it is during the entire year. So we had a $21 million gap in spending at that point in time. However, at the end of June, we had total available funds of $63.8 million. And that's roughly a $2.2 million increase over the same cash balance back in 2017. So we're recommending approval of the Treasurer's Report.
Do I have a motion to accept the Treasurer's Report?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Giazio, seconded by Mrs. G. Do we have any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we're recommending the ratification of disbursements for the month of June, which totaled $37,556,947.66.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Ms. Ott, seconded by Mrs. Burkowski. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, we are recommending budget transfers for the month of May 2018 in the amount of $208,699.11.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Ramich and seconded by Mrs. G. Any comments or questions?
Did we not approve these in June, Steve?
No, we actually approved the April ones in June.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And the financial reports are included. We typically don't go through those at the school board meeting, but they are posted on the Board Docs website. They're for informational purposes only.
Thank you, Mr. Scroggy. Okay, moving on to other business. I see none. Does anyone have anything they want to bring up? Any new business? No? Okay. All right, audience of citizens, you get your second shot tonight if you would like your second round of 3 minutes, Mr. Patchell. Let me get that. Also 3 minutes.
6 minutes.
Yes.
I feel truly blessed.
Go ahead, have at it.
Okay, the one comment I have as a rebuttal to all this is all very interesting. I hope that people at home are watching this on television, and I hope that the public becomes illuminated. Sometimes I get the feeling that, the summer days cause a certain lapse in, public involvement. And, they're very surprised. If they're wealthy enough, they got down to Ocean City. They have a couple houses. They're really living far above anybody that really has any problem. I'm talking about that rebate program which they have. It sounds really fantastic. It sounds like a lifeguard with a 6-inch rope trying to save somebody in a rip current. Mr. Shiraki, could you answer a question? What would be the upper limit of the income for that rebate? This is not the homestead exemption.
It's tied into the property tax and rent rebate program at the state level, and that upper income level is $35,000.
Well, I suggest anybody making $35,000 after a lifetime of work, making $35,000, and I don't know what they pay as a final tax, but I figure if you're making $35,000, all your mail's being forwarded because you moved out of this area. I don't see anybody living in Upper Gwinnett, Lower Gwinnett, and Montgomery Township as going to be able to sustain anything. That's almost a decimal rounding exercise, the amount of money that they're going to give you. So, a couple times to fill your car up, and you just went through all the rebate. And I have to point out to people, and I keep saying this, I can't wait for everybody who's sitting at this table, when April 15th, when you get the bad news, he says, oh, you know what? I don't even get a refund. I've got to pay $5,300. Welcome to the world of 2019. Every single person here is going to owe money. I can almost guarantee it because you acted responsibly and told them to take out much, much more of your pay. So in that way, I myself as a senior citizen am blessed I don't pay any income tax on my pensions. And, through no fault of my own, I am blessed in a little bit, and I do like my house. I want to stay in my house. And you know what? The reason I come here and speak for so many senior citizens, because maybe some people don't have the oratory skills. They say that speaking before the public is almost tantamount to like accepting a divorce or dying. Your spouse is dying, and then I think number 3 is speaking before a public audience. So, I try to fill in for those people that really don't have a lot of input to be able to do that. So I want you to be cognizant of all the things that we're spending money on. Now, in 4 years, we're over $1 billion. That's really fantastic. So, when you think about that, it's good to really understand what the senior citizens, also our large corporate and industrial, do they ask, or do you ask them for an input? Thank you very much.
You did good. All right. If no one else has any public comment, then we'll move to adjourn. Thank you.